Hare Krishna.
So I'll keep this particular part. I'll do only one part of what I was going to do because no, there's no projector today. I don't know. I mean, there is a vast difference between what she has been doing and what I propose to do. So it's not okay. Huh? Hare Krishna. No, I'm just saying that there is a vast difference between her topic and what I proposed to do. That was pastimes and pure devotion and everything. This is down to some realities of the material world. So last time we had discussed on the principle of Dvandva or duality from Bhagavad Gita. Right? Dvandva meant what? Dvandva or duality meant that, just to recap quickly, any situation in the world has simultaneously a good side and a flip side. Right? 1 second, I'll just adjust this volume a little bit.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So last time we saw the topic of duality, and the main reason, if you remember, why we discussed it, I had put some questions also at the end and in the beginning as well, was to say that no, we can't leave it hanging like this. It will yell. Yeah, it was going to say. So the main purpose of discussing that topic was, in this world, what happens is all of us feel that we want every situation to work completely favorably only. We don't want that unfavorable or the flip side. We are looking only for that means in anything that we do in the world, we want to ensure that there is only success, happiness, and everything is pakka and perfect. But that flip side that comes with everything, that part we don't want actually. Correct? That part we don't want. So because of that, two things happen. When we are unable to appreciate it, either we think that we have to keep changing the situation. So we become very fickle-minded. We think that ye nahi chal raha hai. Abhi, should I try this? Should I try that? So whether it is job, whether it is spouse, whether it is anything, the way we earn money, any situation, when we are in that situation, before we enter that situation, we are extremely enthusiastic because we see only the best part of that situation. But once we have entered that situation, then we start to experience the flip side. And when we start to experience the flip side, then we want to avoid that situation and try to see whether should I change my situation. Situation change karke theek ho jayega kya? But then we understand slowly ki nahi ho raha hai. And then also when we start taking to Krishna consciousness, then we have some unrealistic expectations of Krishna consciousness also. Where we feel that maybe because now we have become a devotee, everything should become perfect. Devotee matlab, Krishna has taken care. Correct? And we hear all the verses also from Bhagavad Gita that, like, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. I protect what you have and whatever you lack, I provide that. So then we think that, arey, jo bhi mera flip side aisa Bhagwan arrange karna chahiye. He has promised that in the Bhagavad Gita. Lekin hum dekhte hain ki nahi, material world, whatever the way it is like that. So it doesn't really change. Correct? So this duality, it is not just for a devotee. It's for everyone in the material world. Right? That flip side is there for everyone. In fact, the lower one is in the modes, the flip side is even more. Correct? The flip side experience is even more. Like a person in Tamoguna who is drinking alcohol, he has very little, some concocted happiness that he experiences. But a lot of misery comes with it. A person who is watching a cricket match or something, he also experiences some parts where he is very ecstatic that his hero has hit a 4. But then very soon that fellow becomes out also. He experiences that flip side, that misery. He doesn't want that. But then that he is forced to experience. So the goal certainly is to reduce the duality. but it will nevertheless always exist. And if you remember, that's why we discussed from Ramayana, Mahabharata, from Rama's pastimes, from Krishna's pastimes. Even the Supreme Lord, when he comes to this world, right, even he experiences these kind of situations where anything he does, he experiences that somebody criticizes him, somebody questions why he did like that. Even between Krishna and Balram it happens, right? Krishna takes some decision and Balram ji asks, hey Krishna, why did you do this? In Vrindavan, those problems are not there because that is not in one sense the material world, right? So I think Govind Prabhu was once telling that in Vrindavan, when Krishna ate dirt or he didn't eat dirt or whatever, and Balram went and complained to Mother Yashoda that this Krishna has eaten dirt, that time it was different. But then later, when the Shamantaka money was stolen, and that time Balram also thought that maybe Krishna only took Shamantaka money, that time it is different. You understood? It is not just about the fact that Balram was questioning Krishna. In Vrindavan, it was part of Leela. It was all pure love. But in Dwarka, Mathura, it is different because it is material world. There, the flip side is, very strongly experienced. So this was one theme that we saw last time. And we learned basically the sutra from Bhagavad Gita. What is the sutra from Bhagavad Gita to handle duality? What is the most important thing of handling duality? Tam stitikshasva bharata. We have to tolerate the flip side. We have to tolerate the flip side. You can't completely eliminate it. You have to tolerate it. That flip side we have to keep tolerating. In any situation, that part that comes with it, right? We have to tolerate. Forget to tolerate, then we will become unsteady in our life. Where we'll keep changing situation, trying to see whether I can do something. So this was last time's topic. So today we are going to briefly speak about the second theme from Bhagavad Gita, which of course we will not be able to complete today. So we'll continue it next time as well. And that is diversity. So diversity is a very interesting theme. So Govind Prabhu started this talk by telling us that this is the difference between a garden and a forest. He was saying that generally we wish to make gardens. The principle in a garden is a lot of uniformity. Correct? Agar aap garden banaoge, right? Like if you make a garden at home or some small patch of land you cultivate as a garden, flower garden, fruit garden, some garden you set up. There is uniformity there. It's very regular, structured. It is like, man interferes into it. But naturally speaking, in the material world, what you see is not garden, but what you see is a forest. So the material world is actually a forest. And the principal characteristic of a forest is unlimited diversity. That's what actually forest stands for. Right? Forest is not too uniform. You see all kinds of things in the forest. All kinds of trees, all kinds of animals, all kinds of birds. All kinds of extremely diverse situations in the forest. And that's actually the natural nature of the material world, to have that kind of diversity. And this diversity is there in every aspect of creation. So if you remember last time, maybe I mentioned this, I don't remember, but I think this Govind Prabhu mentioned in a Bhagavatam class in temple, where he was saying that even when a snake bites us, we think that the poison injected is the same. He said, no, it's not. He said in the monsoon, if a snake bites, poison is less. In the summer season, if the snake bites, poison is more. And if you corner the snake, usko marne jaoge, and then if the snake bites, poison is the maximum. So that means there is a diversity in the poison also. It is not that the poison is uniform. When snake bites, itna poison inject ho. Waisa nahi. There is variety in that. So basically this whole thing about this world is variety. And he was saying that the more we learn to handle diversity, the more we become mature. So he was saying that is why traditionally Gurukuls ran in the forest area. You see carefully, Gurukul ran in a forest area, natural setting, where there is a diversity experienced. So even if you see, whether you see Ramayana, or Mahabharata, there is a lot of description of forest life, right? In Ramayana there is Aranya Kanda. In Mahabharata there is Vanaparva. Krishna, though, of course, first 11 years he was in forest only. Correct? Vrindavan forest, the forests of Vrindavan. Right? Mother Yashoda would decorate Krishna with so many nice cosmetics, but Krishna would go to the forest and they would take forest minerals, forest flowers and decorate themselves. So being in the forest and growing up in the forest and seeing that diversity in the forest helped a person become mature because he could see all kinds of diverse situations. Now here is where the relevance of this topic, why we are discussing the topic, comes here. You know, the question as to what is the necessity of duality. In the modern world, if we see, especially the westernized world or urban setting, it is basically a situation where we are artificially trying to create uniformity. You understand the point? Like for example, if you see like, I'm sure those of us, for example, who travel flights, etc. Just a day before yesterday, I had gone to Chennai and went to Trichy to NIT for some class. So if you go to airports, for example, all over the world the airports look similar only. You understood, na? It's a uniform thing. Like if you see this big bazaar culture or anything, everywhere the shop is the same actually. The same kind of thing. And even if you go to European countries, it's all the same. Because we have copied from that system only. You understood the uniformity. So, modern urban civilization primarily is a setup where there is that kind of a uniformity. That diversity is not going to be seen so much. You understood? Now, so we'll give some more examples. And so because of this, what happens is, so when there is too much of so it is not, please remember, it is not that uniformity or regularity in structure is not recommended. So Govind Prabhu was mentioning two concepts. He was saying that there are two terms that we use. One is called samsara and one is called ritu. He said samsara means a pattern. Pattern means the same thing doing again and again. That is called samsara. And ritu means seasons, where there are changes. There are changes. The interesting thing is, both are important in its own way. What is the advantage of samsara or fixed patterns? You know, that gives some kind of steadiness in a person, right? That kind of gives steadiness. You know, like every time doing the same thing, it imposes steadiness. But at the same time, if you carefully observe, I mean, for this some introspection is also needed. If you carefully observe, too much of pattern or too much of everything running as a system or in the same way like a clock leads to boredom in some way. Monotonous. It becomes monotonous. So basically, there is something every human being actually wishes to experience. One second, I am just looking for the right word. He had used a very good word actually. One second. Yeah, excitement. Excitement is not there in pattern. You get the point? There is no excitement. Excitement. That means in doing something very regular, monotonous activity, there is no excitement in it. In a diversity environment, there is too much of excitement. So sometimes, of course, like obviously that's why none of us can live in the jungle, because we can't handle that kind of diversity. Right now we are playing with a deer and suddenly tiger is coming. My God, too much. You know, what kind of diversity?
The other way around. That the forest has got no variety. City actually has a lot of variety. Just about it being, why do you want to go to a village or a forest? Because there is no variety. Everything is the same. And nothing moves. I mean, the cart is still there, the cow is still there, house is not changing, nothing. There is no variety, zero variety. What to speak of variety? I mean, if you just directly pose a question to anyone.
Yeah.
So finding it difficult.
Yeah, good point. See, I would say that in the city, perhaps there is some so-called man-made diversity, but even that, if you see, that is actually non-living. It doesn't really give you that excitement or satisfaction. You understand the point, right? Just like, for example, if somebody is sitting in front of the laptop and downloading stuff from the internet, there is diversity. I mean, if you ask, are there diverse videos present on YouTube? Oh, of course, there is everything, unlimited. But that is not what we are talking here actually. But this is
the guna of a person makes us feel or appreciate the diversity. We may be sitting in Krishna's diversity but never realize it. We need some level of sattva guna to understand that forest actually has a lot of diversity.
Yes, perfect. But again, at another level, if you see, generally in I mean, I'll just give some more examples. It will make it clear. Yeah.
Because you are saying no one is speaking out. Otherwise, internally we all feel there is no diversity in forest.
Okay, fine. I would say that even theoretically it would be very difficult to argue. I mean, of course, none of us have been in a forest. But still, hypothetically, how do we argue that there is no diversity there? We would feel like that.
Argue that there is diversity. That is that we have to move from where we are. From the known, we have to go to the unknown. The known is there is no diversity. So you have to take us to the place where we start appreciating. So our sattva has to increase. Otherwise, it's impossible to theorize or give a lecture that actually there is diversity in forest. We just cannot do that. I mean, I just remember one thing Sanat Kumar Sanat Kumar Prabhu had once told, we were in Vada, we were talking to him, and Prabhuji told me that you have to be very careful when you say that you are fond of the simple surroundings of a village, because what happens is when you come to the village, things actually don't change. You see the same hut for years and years together, the same bullock cart, nothing changes. Unless you are in that mode, you will never be able to appreciate the life and the vibrancy of it.
I understood, yeah, certainly.
It's very theoretical.
Yeah. Actually, the diversity we are talking not only from the forest perspective. This diversity which is there, I mean, that's one way of looking at it, but we are kind of moving ahead to make this point that every individual is supposed to, there is naturally diversity in this material world, and that diversity is supposed to be experienced as well. We'll give some examples quickly for this. So just like, for example, if you see schools, or if you see, I mean, this initially we'll start with that topic, because several examples are related to schooling over here. So he was telling that in schooling, traditionally, for example, in a school, there are supposed to be children from all varnas, from all kinds of situation. We know this, right? Why was it necessary? So that children also have to experience diversity in relationships. That means not that you experience only one kind of relationship. You have to experience multiple relationships. You have to experience relationships with different classes of people, different castes of people. You are supposed to experience that relationship. That also is diversity. That diversity also has to be maintained. So he was mentioning this point, like recently it seems he had gone to one school in Bombay. It's called some Ecomandal school. So it seems the fee there is 12 lakhs per annum. 1 lakh per month is the fee that the children pay to come to the school. So he met one family, it seems. They had invited him for a program, and their 11-year-old daughter goes to such a school. So this daughter, it seems a single daughter first of all at home, and it seems the parents were saying that she's become very rebellious at home, kind of not listening and very rebellious, throwing a lot of tantrums, this, that. So as he was trying to understand that situation, and also trying to understand what kind of parents and what kind of children come to the school, he understood there is such a uniformity created over there, where all the people who come to that Ecomandal school are big guys from South Bombay who are all ready to shell out 12 lakhs and above to put their child in the school. You understood? So everyone in the school are people who have at least 4 dogs at home, 5 dogs at home. That is only discussion. Either they have an Audi or a BMW. There is no diversity actually. It is very uniform. As in, it's all the same class of people. So basically he was saying that the children who grow in such an environment, first of all, you are in city. The forest to aapka gaya, wo diversity big hai. You are seeing only big buildings, big malls. On top of that, the relationships also you have are extremely artificial, and just one kind of people you are meeting. One class of people. That diversity also you are not experiencing. And the only so-called diversity you are experiencing is watching different cartoons. But that is not the real thing that we are talking here, right? So that's not living. That's non-living. That's dead, inanimate. So your real relation with people is all with one class of people. So he was saying that it is but natural that there is frustration in such a situation. Because when we say that diversity is a law in the material world, the meaning also here is everybody has to also experience that diversity to some extent. If not, so he was making this point that one of the highest suicides in the world, in terms of, not in terms of absolute numbers, that perhaps maybe in India or US because of the population, in terms of per capita, Japan and all these countries, where they have made everything so pakka, all the systems run in such a pipette way, the train is leaving at 7:07 means it will leave at 7:07 only. So all the malls, the shopping, the way you do things is so artificial, man-made, that you actually don't experience any diversity at all in any given situation. So he was saying that that actually leads to a lot of frustration in an individual. So he was saying that Japan and there's a New Zealand where also it seems it is pretty much like that. It's very beautiful, but it is just, again, it is made beautiful also in such a way that a person doesn't experience only any other kind of emotion in that situation. So when we talk about diversity, the point here is the material world naturally is a place of diversity. Okay? Relationships are also supposed to be diverse, and we are also supposed to experience that in some way. But the modern Western way, because in the Western way, everything is actually monotonous, single. So he was giving an example, like in our Indian system, even our gods, our worship method is also diverse. Like if you see Krishna, if you go throughout India, the way Krishna is decorated in Udupi, in Srirangam, in Jagannath Puri, in Nathdwara, in Dwaraka is all different. The styles are different, the boga is different. Jagannath Puri, if you go at 10:30 Badawish, 10:30 Shringar Darshan. If you go to Srirangam, my God, 10:30 what? Everything is shut at 9 o'clock. I mean, it's a whole different system. Extremely, Ramanujacharya system. That's why even Ramanujacharya could not digest the diversity of Jagannath Puri. He said, what is this? Kya ho raha hai yahan par? Itna aisa kaise chal sakte? So then we know that story, right? Lord Jagannath sends him to Kurukshetra saying that, yahan kuch mat karo. Don't change the diversity here. Let it be the way it is. Right? We went to Nathdwara, the kind of darshans and it's so different actually. If you go to Udupi, the way they dress the Lord over there, it's totally different. So he was telling us this point also, like one devotee asked a question, Prabhuji, in our counselors meeting only yesterday we had with him, one devotee asked, Prabhuji, why is it that Ram Navami is celebrated on different days by different people? Some Sampradaya says Ram Navami was on Tuesday, some Wednesday, some Thursday. Doesn't it look very confusing? He said, this is a problem with our Western mentality and approach. We cannot appreciate only diversity. He said the simple point is that Ram Navami can be celebrated either according to Nakshatra. Ram's Nakshatra is what? Pusha Nakshatra. Yeah. Either or Nakshatra or according to Tithi, Navami. So when Ram was born, that Nakshatra Tithi Var came on the same day. But in subsequent years, it can change by a day. So some traditions follow Nakshatra, some traditions follow Tithi. There is a diversity in that. But you see, we cannot accept it because we feel, because of our westernized way of education and everything, that it should only be one. ऐसे change क्यों है? Christmas 25 तारीख को है ना, ऐसे नहीं कुछ लोग 26 को मना रहे, कुछ 24 को मना रहे. So he said, it isn't because of the diversity, it's because people see it differently. And sometimes in the same month, the same nakshatra will come. So sometimes you'll see like, our temple, we already celebrated Ramanujarya's Jayanti on April 1st. But the Sri Vaishnavas are celebrating it on May 1st. नहीं वो disappearance था. April 1st या 2nd को था यहाँ पर मंदिर में announce हुआ सवेरे. हाँ, April 1st. But actually the whole Sri Vaishnava, Sri Rangam, everywhere they are preparing for a massive thing on May 1st. Now 1 month difference. That is because it's in sometimes the same month, first Tithi, last also comes. So there is a diversity in that understanding. Yeah, Janmashtami also you will see. In many places, it differs by a month actually in India. What to speak of anything. So he was telling that in our system, even our moksha is diverse. That means when you get liberated also, Ayodhya, the mood is much different from Vaikunta. That is much different from Jagannath Puri, the spiritual world. That is much different from the Dwaraka. Even the Dwarkavasis over there, they are wondering how in Vrindavan they treat Krishna like this so casually. In Vrindavan there is Swakiya, there is Parakiya. Such a diversity in our liberation also. But you were saying that in the Western understanding, liberation is just one concept, right? You just go to heaven or hell. I mean, it's fixed. It's not that there is too much of variety, that you go to heaven also in that there is difference. So you were saying that our Shastras are itself such that everything there is diversity. But on the other hand, most of us, he said, because we come from a westernized, what I understood is because we come from that kind of a set of education, we believe in, we sometimes get confused also in diversity. Diversity does lead to some confusion. So if you see, that's why, sometimes we see somebody worshipping Krishna in some particular way, which is not like our way. You understood the point. Many times we are not able to appreciate that. We feel, aisa kaisa ho sakta. In fact, recently I was having one kind of a debate, you can say, with one very senior devotee only. So he was asking me, Prabhuji, these Sri Vaishnavas and all, what they do? We are chanting 16 rounds, we do this. Do they also chant something like that? The whole point is we try to put everybody from our lens perspective, that I am doing this box. That's my, are this sampradaya also doing this? If they are not doing this, oh kaisa ho sakta, aisa kaisa ho sakta, the Vaishnav kaise hai fir? Yeah, so the point is, in Vaishnavas also there is such a diversity in practice. How they practice also there is diversity. So, even though we say, Hare Nam, like Hare Krishna, that we say, right, Iti Shodashakam Nam Nam Kali Kalmasha Nasanam Nato Paratarupaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. This Nato Paratarupaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate is not literally in that sense that if you have not chanted Hare Krishna Mahamantra, nothing is going to happen to you. Vaisa nahi hai. It is not like, yeah, Hare Bol? Yeah, sorry. Nahi chal raha? No, I think it's working, right? Yeah, I have to take it close actually. If I keep it little bit, yeah. No, I'll keep it close. Yeah. So, yeah, so the point is, yeah, so, for example, like if you see the Christians, they say Jesus is the only way. When they say Jesus is the only way and we say Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only way, Nato Paratarupaya, there is a difference in it. When we say there is no, we don't mean that other sampradayas who are not chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra are not going back to Godhead. Come on, that's not what we are meaning. Are you getting the point? Because there are diverse ways for moksha also. There are different spiritual worlds present. Sanatan Goswami's brother Anupam, he could not take to his brother's process. He told him that I cannot think of Krishna only. When I think of the Lord, I can only think of Ram. Only Rama is coming in my mind. Even if I chant Krishna's name, Raghunath only appears in my system. So finally Sanatan and Rupa tell him that no, you are blessed. You have such affection for your Lord and your Lord is also not ready to leave you. That's fine. And even Mahaprabhu appreciates that very much. So the whole point is that this diversity that we are talking in the Sanatana Dharma or Vedic tradition, it is not just a part of environment, it is a part of relationships, it is a part of, the way we approach the different mindsets that devotees have in terms of how something is to be done. Correct? Like, you just take a simple example of schooling or educating children. How many different devotees have different perspectives to that? Correct? There is diverse opinion. And you can never say that, let us try to do something uniform and just make one thing. It is not possible. That is actually going against. That means the whole point is trying to make it uniform beyond a point. So certainly we have to in some way control that diversity because, when anything is too diverse, then it would cause a lot of anxiety. You understood? See, there's a flip side to everything. So the Dvandva that we discussed, duality, there is that duality concept we'll have to apply here also. Apply here as in diversity also there would be some challenges and in uniformity also there are some challenges. Are you getting the point? Uniformity, the advantage is basically conformity, steadiness, but the disadvantage obviously is lack of excitement and monotonousness, because of which actually people get frustrated. See, if you see it today, why things like on internet pornography or so many things are so popular and so easily taken by everyone is because of a lack of excitement. See, the point is in regular jobs and all, sometimes a person gets bored actually. Again, even in our work we need diversity. That means even in the kind of employment we have, when it becomes too monotonous and when it becomes too regular and uniform, that doesn't give a taste and a kick to a person from within. You're understanding what I'm saying? Those of you who are working, you know what I'm trying to say. Basically, when it is too monotonous, maja nahi aa raha hai, usme ras nahi hai. You're looking for diversity. Now, she just mentioned casually that, we guys are doing a Sanskrit course and this and that. If you ask me why I am doing, only for the reason to create some, I started attending before I heard this point, but only to create a diverse engagement for myself. Because otherwise, just only going to college and lecturing on the same engineering topics for 20 years, it sometimes actually becomes very killing. You actually suffer frustration. So he was going through, before in Kunjibir, in several years back, he was making this talk in temple. He was telling that engagement and job also should have some diversity. It cannot be too uniform. It cannot be too repetitive. That again depends who you are. If you are especially of that kind of a caliber, then you need that even more. where you need a challenging environment. That's why even people even in their regular jobs also people get bored actually. They want to take some other project, something. They're looking for diversity in that. Right? Everybody is looking for it. Even in an IT job, a person says that नहीं मेरे को अभी ये काम बंद है, अभी मेरे को कुछ और करना है, because you have to taste it. So you have to taste diversity in your job, you have to taste diversity in your relationships, you have to taste diversity in the environment. We have to do that. But somehow it is seen that the modern world tries to make things too uniform and monotonous. And that's where our challenge is basically. Again, in relationships also, if you see, like most of us, I mean, we just have 1 or 2 kids, for example. Even our children will not experience diverse relationships. Like if you see, most of us also, we had Atya, Mama, so many relationships, right? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I would go home to Kerala, my parents would take us. It was a big house, which my grandfather had. And so many cousins would come, so many Mama, Chacha, everybody would come, and there were such relationships also, I mean, my mother would say, this is our Atyas, this one's that. You understood, like 3-4 steps in relationship. Like in Tamil only I know how to say, I don't know in Hindi, like Atanga odu Mamiya odu Pullai odu Matu Punna, something like that she would say, and we would get lost also. We don't understand ये क्या बोल रही है, कौन है ये. फिर बहुत धीरे से समझता था कि ये इसको उसको बोलो इतना दूर का नहीं, बोले दूर नहीं है, बहुत पास है वो लोग, बहुत जिगरे हमारे ये लोग. फिर बोलते थे ठीक है भाई. फिर कभी कभी शादी में गए, I'm going to a marriage of my cousin next week. So many relatives come, and favorite hobby is some old relative catches. Na yaar teri ma, you know who I am. Then you are like, you're 40-year-old, you're embarrassed. You don't know who this gentleman is. Then he says, see, you don't know me. Then he'll call my father. He says, see, he doesn't know me. Then my father says, hey, you don't know him? Remember, for your marriage, he had come. So many people came for my marriage. बहुत दूर का relationship बताते फिर. हमको लगता है इतना दूर है. बोले नहीं, बहुत खेले हम बचपन में, शादी थे. So basically, the Indian system itself is such that it encourages that diversity. It encourages a child from childhood only to experience that diversity. That diversity experienced in a very natural setting, in a very natural setting. In a very natural setting when you experience. Now, so please remember, modern understanding also they want to create diversity and experience it, but that is very artificial, kritrim. Like for example, they will make different movies, different, what you understand what I'm saying, right? Naturally, they don't want to experience diversity in terms of relationships and in terms of environment. They want to artificially create diversity on the screen using technology and experience it. But actually, again, if you see very closely, that doesn't satisfy the heart, because Prabhupada basically says, right, you get satisfaction in your heart only by relating with animate things. And even rasa, if you see, like in Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada says that you can't experience rasa with a dog. Correct? Nowadays, people experience rasa with dog only. उनको कुत्ते के साथ ही रस है. Human being के साथ relationship कम है. Correct? That's the, yeah, what happened? Any?
She's calling.
Yeah, nowadays it's common. Where are you? I'm here. Look behind. I'm there. Right? So we like to, in technology, we experience diversity from Samsung phone, Nokia phone, iPhone, this, that. But that's again artificial. So surprisingly, in the modern world, we either experience artificial diversity or most of the time artificial uniformity. And so you understood the point, right? And these things are generally a cause of frustration. So natural relationships, natural life means to experience the natural diversity. And when that is done, there is a fulfillment of heart in that as well, in that particular thing. Now, how, so of course, now there are a lot of questions. The flip side of diversity is that diversity creates confusion. It creates confusion. Confusion होता है ना, ये वो देख के हमको confusion लगता है. हाँ, कब रामनवमी मना? Confusion है. एक ही बताओगे तो ऐसा 25th December. अच्छा लग रहा है कि भाई confusion नहीं है कम से कम. See, many times people see the diversity as a threat, or they see it as a limitation, right? Like our devotees also, many times they have asked this question, that why Prabhuji, different places, different festivals, why our Ekadashi, for example, one day after another Ekadashi, or somebody celebrates Janmashtami on Monday, ours is Tuesday, somebody else Wednesday. Some in South India, some places they celebrate exactly 1 month after we have celebrated Janmashtami. Unka same Janmashtami usi time chalta rehte, right? You've seen that, right? So basically in different places different. So instead of appreciating that diversity because of the artificial this thing, So you understood the point, right? And also as a society, sometimes we feel a little bit threatened like I'll give a very honest, straight example that would convey the point. Recently, there was one devotee. I mean, because again, we are involved in this homeschooling our kids. Sometimes people come and ask us about it. There was one devotee who came and asked me recently, stay somewhere near temple only. So he was saying that, so we were talking a lot on it. He thought that he wants to try it out. I told him that, see Baba, everything is duality only. So there is द्वंद्व in everything. ये करोगे तो भी इसमें भी ये problem है, ये challenges है. Face करने को तैयार है तो कर लो भाई. So I gave as neutral understanding as possible, because I myself have experienced that every system has its own set of challenges and some advantages as well. So I told him. Then he told me one thing. He told me, Prabhuji, I think I will have to leave this place and go somewhere else and stay if I have to do this. I said, why you want to leave this place? He said, Prabhuji, here if I have to stay, among all the devotees only and do something so different, then generally there is a lot of peer pressure, especially for my wife. There will be people who will ask, alag kyun kar rahe ho kuch? Just do what everybody is doing, right? See, the whole point is diversity not only causes confusion, sometimes we feel threatened by diversity also. ये आदमी ऐसे क्यों कर रहा है? हम तो ऐसे नहीं कर रहे. हमारा नेबर ऐसे क्यों कर रहा है अपने बच्चे के साथ? You understood the point, na? So I told him, well, I mean, that pressure you will have to handle. I said, for some time you handle and then it becomes okay. People understand everything. He said, no, at least for some years I'll move out of this place. I'll take a flat somewhere else and go. So I understood this is also a result in general of a society where we find it, as a society, our level of handling diversity and uniformity is not that mature. Where we feel, right, are you understanding my point, right? Anybody does something, others get little threatened by that. We feel that, why he's doing what I'm not doing. We want conformity and uniformity. We want everybody to do very, very similar things. But the fact of the world is that people are different. People's requirements are different. Everything is different. So there will be diverse strategies which will be employed in terms of how people look at some particular issue. Correct, na? So even as an organization, ISKCON, we find a lot of challenge with this in our management everywhere. Because what happens is, like even in a brahmachari ashram, there's so many brahmacharis who come and stay together in one place. So in all the management, some meetings or anything, there is this whole thing of, how you view something, right? Even standards or whatever you want to call that. So there are different opinions about it. See, diversity is also an opinion. Diversity not only in environment, not only in relationships, not only in work and career, but in opinions, in terms of how you look at things. वहाँ भी diversity है, तो उसमें accommodate करना भी बहुत बड़ा challenge है. So I'll make this one point and then open up for questions. So Govind Prabhu was saying one very important point. In this world, diversity will continue to exist, but we should not create divisiveness due to diversity. Now please understand, divisiveness means creating divisions. Divisions means like the church did in the West. Now if you see in the church, there are different churches. You know that, right? Catholic, Protestant, this, that. That is not diversity. It is not like our Udupi temple, Srirangam temple. It is not like that. That is actually divisiveness. That means it is broken up. Jhagda hone ke karan. I am here, you are here. We are different. And you understood divisiveness? Divisiveness means, born out of disagreement. मतलब तोड़ा हुआ है उसको, structure को तोड़ दिया तुमने. आप समझ गए ना? It is not that, because I remember I grew up in a Christian colony all my life. All my building, we lived in a colony called St. Pius Colony. सबके सब Christian थे आजू बाजू. School भी Catholic था. So I grew up in that. So I remember my neighbors and all, they were Protestant. So we had only one church in the place where we stayed. There was a Catholic church. None of these people would even enter that church. I asked them, you guys don't go there? I was like, they said, no, we are Protestant. हम ये church में नहीं जाते. हमारा church यहाँ से 10 किलोमीटर होता है. मैं एक बार भी नहीं आते. बोला नहीं जाते हम लोग. हमारा वैसा नहीं है. We are Vaishnava. We'll go to Shiva. You understood, right? That is a different thing. So what I'm saying is, diversity doesn't mean making divisiveness. Now try to understand what is divisiveness. So you give a very simple example for it. Because of diversity, there are different opinions. We may not agree to an opinion. We may say strongly, right? So I'll just quote from Ramayana. In Ramayana, there is a story. Ravan gives first class knowledge also sometimes. So Ravan once is telling all his assembly members that there are 3 classes of people. There are 3 classes of assembly, he says. First class assembly is one where everybody unanimously agree on one proposal and go ahead with it. Everyone agrees on one proposal and says shabash, यही proposal हम स्वीकार करेंगे. Second class assembly, he said, where there is some debate or charcha, ultimately they come to one proposal saying that ठीक है, चर्चा हो गया हमारा, थोड़ा सा अलग अलग ओपिनियन था, लेकिन ये सबका मत है, common consensus. Third class assembly, he said, is where there is such a disagreement that people, they come to some consensus, but after they go out, people say मैंने वो एग्री नहीं किया था, ये बेवकूफ ने वो सजेशन दिया, इसके कारण वैसा चल रहा है यहाँ पर, मेरा ओपिनियन ही अलग है. That means even as an assembly, when you come to some decision, you go out and keep pinpointing that. Are you getting this point? So he was giving a simple example. He said, like in the school they have Gopal's garden, he said uniform. He said it's a simple thing like uniform, but he said even a small thing like uniform, it is so difficult to come on a consensus with all devotees agreeing on a particular kind of uniform. You understood? Because everybody has a different opinion about it. What kind of color it should be, how much length it should be, कब short होने का, कब लंबा होने का, हर एक का अलग अलग opinion है. So he said ultimately the managers have to come to one common conclusion, because you can't just say that okay, diversity means everybody come to uniform. Then it's not uniform only. So you have to come to some consensus. But still, so two things. First, you have to appreciate diversity. You have to understand that no, everybody will have different opinion. उसका भी एक validity है. Even though we have chosen this uniform, वो uniform में भी strength है, weaknesses है, duality है उसमें. But ultimately we have to settle on something, so we have settled on this thing. But making divisiveness means what? Going out and telling everybody क्या uniform बनाया है बेवकूफ लोग ने, ये तो पूरा ही गलत है, ऐसा करना ही नहीं चाहिए था. That means you can't make divisivenesses. You understood? Divisiveness means you can't create islands, break up with others and say that no. So he said that is not encouraged. Even Ravan doesn't encourage divisiveness. Ravan says that नहीं, हमको साथ में रहना है. You understood, right? So साथ में रहना है. So diversity is going to be there, but don't create divisiveness. So there are many more things to say, but any questions or comments? I think Mataji had something. She had raised her hand long back. I had stopped.
At that moment, I was asking you if diversity means experiencing challenges in that particular situation. Like you're talking about forest life and city life. So is forest life, does it have more challenges? Is that why we feel it more diverse? So that was the point when you were talking about the forests.
Yeah, obviously, it has more challenges, right? It's not, yeah, and also the environment is like that, right? The kind of, everything, the trees, the birds, the animals, the kind of water, right? It is not very uniform in a forest. It's not so easy to live in a forest. So that's why he was saying that in childhood, those days, Gurukuls and all used to be in such environments where that handling training was given. So that's why I didn't speak much on that, because it's not so relevant now for us. Because perhaps none of us can implement that part, but we have to understand at least where, where something, we have skipped some step in our life that will have an impact on us, all our life. We have seen only structures of concrete, right? We have not seen that. So that is there, right? Makes sense? Yeah.
Prabhuji, we had one teacher. Haribol. We had one teacher, and she was her father. Her father her father used to get transfer every year, and she experienced different schooling, different schools, and she was very excited about it. She said that I cannot imagine how can children stay in one school from KG to 10th. Because I stayed in one school from nursery to 10. So she was very excited. So this is a diversity which she experienced. And last class we were talking about stability. Yeah.
See, that's why both are there. I started also by saying that. I never said that diversity means you change your flat, change your job, change your spouse, or change everything every month to experience that phenomenal variety of life. No, certainly not. There has to be uniformity, there has to be samsar. That's why we said, two terms, samsar and ritu. Samsar means there is a pattern of life. That steadiness is there. But then there has to be some change. See, everybody wants change from pattern. Yes or no? Are you getting my point? Everybody wants change in routine, right? Even as a housewife, don't we say sometime कि हमेशा वही चल रहा है, बोर हो गए, नहीं करना है अभी. You want to change, right? Why do you want to change? Because you want to experience a diverse environment. You don't want to experience the same thing. Like as a teacher, every year teaching the same subject. Sometimes we only say change our subject only. No, बहुत हो गया. वो subject पढ़ा के bore हो गए. We want to experience, right? And even like my yesterday only had gone to NIT Trichy, day before yesterday. Went to give the college had invited to give a talk on Ramayana to the students. I went then came back. When I came back, my parents, they're here. They went today only actually by train at 6:30. So they asked me, why you are taking so much trouble to go so far? Even if they're inviting, why did you go in the first place? I said it was my need. I also get bored doing the same routine thing every time. I want some change. I want to go somewhere far away, address some different set of students in a different environment, a different topic that they gave me. Right? It was like 300 students in a college. They wanted lessons from Ramayana. So I had to prepare an entire new PPT for it. I had to think a little differently. ये सब नए लोग हैं, कोई डिवोटी नहीं है, इस्कॉन का नहीं है, कैसे प्रेजेंट करने का रामायण? So it challenges me, right? But so I said that I went for myself, not for anybody. खुद के लिए गया मैं. Because I want to experience a diverse environment. I want to, you understand what I'm saying, right? So, though again, if you tell me every week travel here and there and preach, वो भी जरूरत ज़्यादा हो जाएगा क्योंकि हमको थोड़ा स्टेबिलिटी भी चाहिए. एक जगह बैठ के अपना काम करना है, साधना करना है, बच्चे है, ये है, वो है, करेक्ट. You can't experience so that's a trade-off. Correct? There's a trade-off. Yeah, there has to be stable environment and we need diversity. Very good. Good point. We need. See, the point is, material world is naturally created with diversity. That is we started with. See, we have to also see what is natural, right? भगवान ने सृष्टि डाइवर्स बनाया, relationships डाइवर्स बनाए, सब कुछ डाइवर्स बनाया. लेकिन हमारा आधुनिक Western पाश्चात्य संस्कृति, it forces us to experience uniformity in most places, correct? So because of that artificial uniformity, what happens? People get bored. So right from childhood, everything, why there is such a craze behind entertainment in today's world? Watching TV, internet, right? Na? Because you are bored. You are not experiencing natural excitement. Natural excitement आप experience नहीं कर रहे हो, इसलिए बोर हो रहे हो. So actually if you see like when students and all ask this question, they are addicted to internet and porn and so many other things on the internet. One prime reason why every youth gets addicted to all that at that particular age is because he or she is not challenged enough. You are not naturally facing excitements in life in a very natural setting. So तुमको चटपटा स्वाद नहीं मिल रहा है, तो तुम आर्टिफिशियल चटपटा स्वाद के लिए खोज कर रहे हो. यू आर ट्राइंग टू सी आर्टिफिशियल चटपटा कुछ है क्या स्क्रीन पे, बट देन दैट इज वेरी परवर्स. दैट ओनली पुल्स यू डाउन. सो दैट डज नॉट, राइट, दैट डजंट रियली, neither it really satisfies you within, nor it is actual diversity in the very natural context. It's artificial, right? It's all artificial. It only agitates you, pulls you down. So you get even more frustrated. Frustration का limit ही नहीं है लोगों को. I mean, if you see stories, recently there was this boy, I mean, so many. This one boy, just 2 days back, he took an entire video of his from Hotel Taj. He committed suicide, jumped from the 19th floor. He took a video of what all he did before he committed suicide. पूरा video लेके Facebook पे डाला. It was in news all over. Basically, the point is just bored in life. Just bored in life. No more excitement. तुमने ये सब artificial excitement experience कर लिया. अभी क्या करोगे? And please remember, our kids also will go through that with time if they are not challenged enough in very natural or in very what shall I say, dharmic ways. If we don't give avenues to challenge them, no matter what philosophy, no matter what we have given them before, वो experience उनको चाहिए उस time. Because that artificial, if you don't have naturally excited in natural relationships and natural environment, you need artificial stuff. Yeah, getting the point? Yeah, makes sense.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Probably a couple of points actually. Okay. So one is, I personally believe that a balance is required for anything.
Yeah, of course.
So let me just complete a point. So for example, when it's uniformity, okay, we have a Mangal Arati which is supposed to be 4:30 every day in the morning. This is uniformity. 16 rounds is uniformity. Okay, so this is one thing. Second thing is, I personally sometimes don't agree with the notion when we say westernized, civilization. Okay, what I would like to say is a modern civilization, because probably certain years back, decades back, centuries back, they had similar lifestyle as what we had. So for example, when we talk about cousins staying in a house close by, so this is all modern things. Very, very, very openly, So for example, earlier times there were big families. Big families because there was nothing called as family planning, no protection, nothing kind of thing. People had no other avenue to satisfy their desires. Okay, nowadays people go for artificial means. So plus the lifestyle has become such a manner that you can't afford more than 2 children, most of us. So this is one. Second thing, there was no mobility of humans. So you born in a house, you born in a village, you are staying over there. You get married probably to somebody in the next village or a next town, and everybody is in the same community. Today we are staying here, family is there in different continent, which is so. This is a evolution of the. This is an evolution of a community of a civilization, I would say. Okay, probably Western people also had a similar ways of living as we used to have. Correct. They also have similar cousins and big families and so on and whatnot. Okay. So this is the second point. Third point is that I don't really get what is the point of this discussion we're talking about today. That diversity, we all accept that diversity is required. In many ways, the modern life has also facilitated that diversity. For example, today we are having different kind of cuisines in our house. Okay. So for example, it's much easier now to cook a South Indian food in Punjab or in Delhi, or to cook Italian food or to cook Chinese food. So my point over here is that diversity has got different facets. Okay, the modern life has facilitated some of them, and in the process it has killed some of them. Okay, and I am struggling to understand what do I take home from here.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, diversity. You want to say something?
If you have to answer him,
Yeah,
Hare
I'll take all
Krishna,
these
Hare
and then we'll simultaneously.
Hare Krishna.
Maybe people have same things to say.
Hare Krishna. No, I'll kind of, when I speak, I'll kind of try to answer him also. So, as you said, when we discuss any topic, we start off from the perspective with which Krishna has created this creation. So by default, Krishna created with a lot of variety, diversity. The problem is our intention, it's nothing against the people staying in the western part of the world. We just use it notionally to say most of the things that we do, kind of they do it first and we emulate it. So it's one word to refer to something. For example, in all humility we say we are not devotees, but in our conversation we'll use that devotee, this devotee. So it's a way of addressing, nothing against the western people staying in the western part of the world. So there is Krishna created this creation. By default there was a lot of variety. The problem is Krishna's variety is very simple. Someone staying in Kerala will have infinite variety. He will never have to taste vada pav or thing in his chola bhatura. What we have done is we have killed the Kerala diversity and we have got something artificially trying to get some other form of diversity. First, Krishna's diversity, the reason why it was killed unintentionally or for whatever reason, the way the civilization has progressed, Krishna's diversity can never be controlled because it is so diverse. When the Britishers came to India, when they looked at the Indian culture, they saw when you want to rule something, you can only control something which you can measure and quantify. India was so diverse, so the education was so different, the culture was so different. They wanted to have some things. They had to rule almost the whole of the world, where there are different cultures, different. So the one reason why they introduced this civil services, there will be one way of uniformity in the way all the different parts of the world are administered. For that they need a specific kind of a child to get admitted. For that they need a specific kind of education which will happen before that. So that was done intentionally to come to a situation where you can kill diversity and able to control the people who practice the diversity. But the point is, since by default Krishna has made us in a way that we constantly look for diversity, once we killed Krishna's diversity, we started introducing artificial diversity. Krishna's diversity was always very stable. I mean, you will be in Kerala, eat millions of dishes according to the Ritu, according to the Utsav, you will never fall sick. But artificial diversities, you will eat McDonald's pizza in Mexico, Panama, India. Those things are not meant to be consumed in this part of the world, in this season. So, if you kill Krishna's diversity, we introduced our diversity which we can control and modify, but they have tremendous amount of adverse consequences which we just cannot tolerate. And another thing is, Krishna's diversity actually has uniformity in principle. It has variety in implementation, but the principle is always the same. So even when we are saying that there is difference in the way Srirangam worship happens or Udupi happens, the principle always remains the same. We don't look at Krishna differently, but we look at the implementation of that, I'm saying interface, but the implementation, sorry. implementation of that principle in different ways. But when we look at the modern man-introduced diversity, first it is born out of disagreements. It's born out of disagreements, and the second is it doesn't go natural. It's not sustainable, and it doesn't go natural. It doesn't go well with the setting of the place where we are introducing that diversity.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes, that's it. It's said very well, honestly. I don't know how many of you have got it. I'll come back to you, but I have something to say about you. Shyamlila provides something. Pass the mic to
you. The point that you are making about one not experiencing the challenge, I feel that yeah, that is bad, but I actually feel that it is maybe it is our improper understanding of Krishna consciousness that many of us, and I myself also feel that we sometimes give up our ambitions, our whatever our ambitions or whatever diversity that we have, like we try to see the others and try to maybe because of our education or maybe because of our improper understanding of Krishna consciousness, that we try to whatever inner instinct that we have or inner ambition that we have, we try to kill it, and we try to see that okay, maybe that is not the right way. And as a Krishna conscious devotee, I must basically try to focus on certain norms and patterns which are fixed. So it is my own experience also, and my interaction with many devotees, and they also express that, and it becomes very difficult to basically come to an understanding that whether we should follow our inner ambitions and instincts and have others also follow that, or we should try to really think in the way as all others are thinking. I mean, I also don't have the answer for this. So maybe
sure. But I thought that we'll address little bit some things, otherwise, sure. We will give time for everybody to speak. You want to add something? Go ahead.
And to his question, what happens is we might have different ambitions than the institutional ambitions. For example, like if devotional practices tell us to do certain set of things, and we might want to do something else, then we kind of go out of the track. But we see many people or many devotees around us who have similar ambitions, which are similar to the practices in the institutional setups. So what I'm trying to say is, because their ambitions are aligned with what the institution is hoping for, they're happy practicing those things. But those people who might have little different ways of going there, it might be shorter or might be longer or might be different, but they kind of find it, as we said, like when there is a diversity, they feel threatened or other people threatened, and they kind of try to suppress themselves, not going through that way, and then themselves become so much depressed or kind of suppressed in their life, and ultimately they start questioning themselves, why did I do this? I had many different options, but only because of Krishna consciousness, or because of I was been trained like that, and I try to do the things in certain way.
Yeah, so we'll address some of these points. In fact, most of you, not necessarily you asked questions, you made a very good comment as well, especially Amargaur Prabhu made a very, very interesting and very well put comment on Krishna's natural diversity and what we create. So I'll just start with some points related to what Gaurav Prabhu asked. Why are we discussing this topic? The whole point is, okay, I'll put a question now. And from that you will understand why this topic becomes important. This was discussed in our Nathdwara Yatra. Is Sati bad? Sati, we went to Nathdwara, so we saw places where there was a practice of Sati, where women would enter fire along with their dead husband and kill themselves. It is there from Mahabharata times. We see Madri entered the funeral pyre along with Pandu. Is Sati wrong? How would you answer this? Suppose a Westerner asks you, hey, you're from India? Hinduism? They speak about Sati, where the widow enters fire with the husband's dead body? What kind of ghastly civilization is this? What would you say?
That's personal choice.
No, personal choice means, but your society is encouraging that choice, na? Glorifying the choice. Wait. There are 200 Sati temples in Rajasthan. Yeah, so that means what? You're glorifying that Sati?
What is a Sati temple?
Sati temple means those ladies who did Sati, unka mandir hai.
Glorifying them.
Yes, glorifying them. तो सोसाइटी उनको बढ़ा रहा है सबके आंखों में कि देखो इतने महान है, तो एक सटल प्रेशर आ गया ना. देखो ये डिवोटी कितने महान है, 16 माला 2 बजे श्याम लीला प्रभु 2 बजे उठ के 16 माला करते 4. अभी I'm just saying example. Suppose somebody says like that, एक प्रेशर आ गया ना हम सब पे कि भाई ये कर रहे तो भाई मुझे भी करना पड़ेगा, 2 नहीं तो 4 बजे तो करना पड़ेगा मुझे. आता है कि नहीं प्रेशर? So how would you answer? Is it right or wrong as a civilization? That's where diversity comes in. So Govind Prabhu, he had got a huge book only called Sati. You know, I was reading from that. So he was telling us that you can never say that everyone who did Sati were forced to do. So he was giving some cases. He was reading from the book. So this book is written by Britishers in the 19th century. When they saw Sati, means there are British officers who saw Sati taking place and their first-hand accounts are given in the book. So there is this British officer who is stationed in Rajasthan. He comes to know one lady is doing Sati. So he says that I have to stop. He has a conception that ये सब terrible practices है, evil practices है, इसको बंद करना चाहिए हमको. ये जाता है वो lady के पास, बोलता है कि why are you committing Sati? I will give you 500 rupees per month from British government every month. Don't worry, your money will be taken care. That lady, it seems, sternly looks at this British officer and she says, what do you think? I am committing Sati because I don't have money? Light a fire here. So in front of that officer a fire is lit and she starts burning her hand. And she doesn't move her hand. The British officer writes, I was stunned to see that this lady doesn't budge a millimeter, by keeping her hand on fire. Then this British officer said that I understood that this lady is extremely determined to do what she wants to do. She was basically saying, I am feeling such separation from my husband, I don't want to live in this world now. It's my choice. ये पैसे वैसे के लिए नहीं है. We are very well off. And this British officer, full account is there in the book. He writes that when this lady, she takes the husband's body, enters fire and sits like a yogini. Fire burning her, not budging an inch. So this officer says, when I saw that I was stunned. That how could a lady have this kind of willpower and sit in fire and burn herself and not even express a crying pain. अरे यार physical element है ना fire, आपके body को जला रहा है, चिल्लाओगे चीखोगे कुछ तो करोगे, कुछ नहीं. And like this, not one, there are several accounts. On the other hand, there are also several accounts in the same book made by similar British officers where they are saying that the village took a lady and pushed her into fire and she came out running. मेरे को नहीं मरना है. And they forced her and they burnt her alive. That's actually murder. So if you ask this question point blank, were all the satis that were done all bogus? No, you cannot answer like that. There is diversity there. There are some who genuinely did sati with that feeling of pain from their husband which they felt. Please remember, sati concept is loka praman. See, there is loka praman, there is shastra praman. You understood? India runs on both wheels. There were civilizations in South America like this, what is South American civilization called? Oh, Incas and all, they had Loka Praman, but they did not have Shastra Praman. You understood? They all collapsed. India is a civilization with Loka Praman and Shastra Praman. Our Shastra Praman doesn't speak of Sati. Shastra only says that Manu says in Manu Samhita, if a lady is a widow, she should live like a Sadhavi. Sadhavi means a pure woman. Without engaging in any sense gratification, now that her husband is gone, she should live like that. That is Sadhavi. Manu Samhita doesn't say she should enter fire. No Shastra says enter fire. This is Loka Praman. Loka Praman means some ladies did it. Several ladies did not. Dasharath died, neither Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, Sumitra committed sati. So it was never mandatory in Shastra. Some did. And even the percentage of numbers who did are actually very small. It is not so big. You understood? So the point is, there is diversity in something like this also. So that time this Jallikattu was going on. He was asking, is Jallikattu right or wrong? No, I mean, there is a diversity. There are people who do this Jallikattu mainly with the purpose of breeding new cows and maintaining the cows, because the bulls that run, the best bulls run in that race. You understood, right? So it seems only because of such races, such bulls, that sperm and that kind of category of bull is preserved. Otherwise, not preserved only. But on the other hand, there are some Jallikattu races where they put alcohol, they give the bull alcohol, they put tobacco in the eyes to make the bull agitated and run like mad. So there is a diversity in that. So you cannot say something is outrightly wrong or something is outrightly great. There is such a difference in it that somebody is doing something so great and somebody is doing something in a terrible manner. And only when we go into that diversity, we get a very mature opinion on any subject or topic. Now, please remember, diversity again does not mean that we have to experience extreme unnatural diversity. Like, for example, if I ask you a question, I'm asking a simple question. It is a little debatable topic, but still I'm putting this point. Should children, so actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur asked this question. I'll start from there. He's asking this, or I'll ask a question in the modern context. Like, should our devotees, for example, get married to, why get married to Indians only? Experience a diverse situation, na? Get married to Italian or, white-bodied Mataji. Diverse, ekdam khatarnak diversity. Correct, na? Kyun deshas the to deshas, Maratha hai to Shanno Koli Maratha. Why like that? Get married across, khatarnak diversity experience karo. No, waisa nahi hai. Bhaktivinoda Thakur raises this point in Jaiva Dharma. He's asking the question, if a devotee gets married, Vaishnava gets married, what should he do? He's asking a question, there is a Muslim who is a Vaishnava in Bengal, let us say, and there is a Brahman who is a Vaishnava. That Muslim is a Pakka Vaishnava. Should the Brahmin Vaishnava give his daughter in marriage to the Muslim Vaishnava? He's asking this question. He's saying there are two ways of looking at it. He's saying from the Paramarthika perspective, spiritual perspective, the Muslim Vaishnava, Brahmin Vaishnava born, they are all of the same transcendental caste and system, and they can sit together in an assembly and honor Krishna Prasad, discuss Krishna consciousness, because they are all transcendental. It means they are all beyond the modes, because they are all Vaishnavas. But when it comes to marriage, he says that if the girl goes to that Muslim's house, she will have to experience a very, very diverse environment over there, which will be very difficult for her. Natural नहीं रहेगा, क्योंकि वो मुस्लिम वैष्णव है ना, उसका पेरेंट शायद वैष्णव नहीं है, उनके साथ भी डील करना पड़ेगा ना शादी हुआ तो, वो डाइवर्सिटी हैंडल नहीं कर पाएगी वो. Are you understanding? So when we say diverse, there is a natural diversity, like he was pointing out. Like if you see Kerala or any place in India, there were foodstuffs. Prabhuji, before our modern civilization, I remember as a child, we never ate chapati at home. Because we were South Indians, तो ये था कि भाई चावल ही खाने का. चपाती मतलब वो ऐसा कुछ स्पेशल डे है तो मम्मी चपाती बनाती है. ओ चपाती. We were like, some different only. Paneer and all, first time I ate in ISKCON. But क्या है ऐसा spongy खाया ही नहीं कभी. Ate only regular South Indian food. In that there is a lot of diversity. Not that there is not that it is the same thing. Lot of doesn't mean that pasta, pizza, vaisa. But too much diversity also that creates confusion actually for a person. That's very artificial. That's not natural. And even health-wise, it's not correct, right? Since you're talking about the topic of food, I remember when I started having joint pain first time, I went to my Ayurvedic doctor. He told me you have to eat according to the place. He said eating sambar made in Chinchar, this imli, tamarind. In tamarind is very good in south where you are living close to the coastal areas. He said in Pune kind of climate, you can't keep eating like this tamarind sambar daily. You have to eat according to this climate. Then I understood कि भाई थोड़ा सा you understood na. So basically there is a natural diversity which is there in Krishna's creation, in Varnashram, in relationships. I agree with you that in modern times we have replaced some diversity by some other. But generally, if you see, without any offense to any particular situation, most of the time we have replaced things more naturally with things more artificially or things too globally. Like, eating some Italian pasta, this, that. It's too global actually. It's like widely way apart from what you are, what kind of climate you experience, and you understood. So that also causes. So please remember, when we are talking diversity here, I am not saying that we should experience only diversity. That's why we are talking uniformity also should be there. There should be regularity. Like I told you, I wish to go to Trichy mainly when I got the offer last week. That boys phoned me and said, Prabhuji, are you ready to come? We'll book flight. Somehow I just felt, yes, long time I have not gone anywhere, simply sitting doing routine things. कुछ change चाहिए, कुछ तो चाहिए. तो बोला ठीक है मैं बनाता हूँ PPT में आता हूँ. Trichy. You understood na? But that doesn't mean every week I want that diversity. I mean, come on, I can't handle that. I mean, I also need some steadiness in life. You get the point, right? So everything is balanced out only in life. But why we are discussing this point is many times we are unable to appreciate the diversity. We want uniformity. We are threatened by people doing things differently sometimes in the modern setup. And that nature of being threatened, like I was giving you an example, right? Somebody staying close to temple, he wants to educate his children in some way. He is feeling threatened. Not the devotees have threatened him, but he and his wife are naturally feeling कि यहाँ बैठ के भाई मैं नहीं कर सकता, मेरे को यहाँ से 50 किलोमीटर दूर जाके कुछ करना पड़ेगा करना है तो. That is an issue as a whole. We have to get mature, and as an institute, ISKCON is an institution, right? So there again these challenges are there very much. And what they said is also perfect. The inner call of a person, what they want to do, Shamlila Prabhu said, Mataji said, that is correct. We have to go according to that. Right? In the name of, like I remember this very much. For several years in our Nityanand Sabha, we would tell everybody should become college teacher. Kitna maine bola hai. I realized this is crime actually. How can you talk? What nonsense this is. Hey, how can everybody be a teacher, man? How is it? Is it practical? Is it making any sense? There is a diversity in front of you. Are people who are not fit for teachers became teachers by our preaching. Why? Just so that you get time for devotional service. Yeh criteria hai job lene ka. It's criminal. It's violence actually. So we have to grow up as an institution, as members, right? Where you have a right understanding. So that's where we come from. Yeah. Dinabandhu.
इनका क्वेश्चन नहीं होना शामिल है फॉर इनका
बता दिया ना मैंने. ये लास्ट है. इसके बाद नेक्स्ट है. So all everything in the middle word starts but doesn't terminate.
Guruji, I was just wondering, this diversity is actually related to predictability also. I mean, for example, the examples you gave in the beginning, like the Western civilization is very time oriented, discipline.
Feast which Prabhuji has made for us, for us everything. Yeah.
So, like Western civilization is very time oriented, discipline oriented. So, for example, like I mean, in India, I don't know. I'm not saying that that's what you said, but the diversity also stems from a lack of all these things. I mean, sometimes when I hear Govind Prabhu also, I hear this kind of emphasis on the Vedic culture and a kind of critique of the Western civilization. But sometimes I feel it's more like the diversity stems from the disorganization many times. Disorganized way of life, like in India. Whatever my experience is. Because in the West, they're so organized, but at the same time, they're also known for their diversity.
Yeah.
Like globalization is a concept of the West only.
They're breaking down, but.
Now they are.
Yeah. Why?
But it's still there, so.
Globalization was good as long as they were exploiting. When they started getting exploited, globalization was a problem. Are you understanding? Correct. For America and London, globalization was fine as long as they were the masters exploiting the globe. But when the globe is exploiting them, they have an issue with it. They will do Brexit, Trump will come up with policies. Westerners this way, they're dangerous entities. You understood? Now coming back to the point, there has to be a balance in everything. There has to be a balance between discipline, spontaneity. There has to be a balance. Life can't be overly disciplined. Overly disciplined creates boredom. That's what I said, Japanese. Spontaneity is also important. In the Vedic education, for example, like we are learning this from our Gurukul teachers, so they were telling us that when you start a topic, to artificially have a button at 45 minutes is very unnatural. As in, what happens is, it just keeps breaking the whole thing. So, so again, that doesn't mean that if you're totally free flow, then again, there would have its own set of challenges. So, there is a balance. There is a balance that is required. By and large, today in the modern world approach, we are much structured and, that kind of a thing. Are you getting my point, right? We are not too spontaneous, right? Like even in our classes and all, some people are, like if you see Radhanath Swami, for example, honestly, he's very that way, he's very spontaneous. If you see in many ways, he is very spontaneous. Like when I sent you that lecture, all of you heard that, right? When Maharaj was in some place in Orissa, tasting that sweet, Maharaj was going on and on without worry about time, bus, saying Mahaprasad. You सब लोग ने सुना वो lecture ब्रजबिहारी प्रभु का जो मैंने भेजा था, उसमें बताते वो point. See, the point is, there has to be a mixture of both discipline and this thing. Too much of discipline is like Japan. You go to that extreme then. Too much of chaos is also an issue, obviously. You don't achieve anything. You have to reflect back on goals and see. So we are, see, please remember, that's why first principle you need to remember is duality. तभी डाइवर्सिटी हम बात करेंगे. ड्यूअलिटी समझे बिना डाइवर्सिटी में हम आए ही नहीं. और डाइवर्सिटी अभी वैसे खत्म भी नहीं हुआ, इसमें बहुत है बोलने का. We'll continue this next time. There's so many more examples to talk of. So I think we have to end right now. Okay, so we'll just take maybe 1 and 2 because topic खत्म नहीं हुआ है, by the way. Neither Quraysh is over nor diversity is over. Because you know time is over.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare
So
Krishna.
that everybody can get
Hare
up early on
Krishna,
Monday and go
Hare
to office.
Actually, Nathdwara is not over, duality is not over.
कुछ नहीं खत्म हुआ है, खत्म ही नहीं होता है, बताइए. She is nowadays talking little bit in Sanskrit.
Generally सीख गए तो ऐसे बातचीत संस्कृत में हो रही. Yeah. So I was just telling about again what he said about the Western thing with it actually offers diversity. The way Krishna provides diversity is he gives this container or vessel, bhakti contained in the vessel of Varnashram, which gives tremendous amount of variety, but at the same time in a very favorable way. So what happens is sometimes we feel that why Varnashram is necessary.
Please give me a very important point, please here.
Why Varnashram is necessary? Varnashram is necessary because first of all it's a very favorable environment. I'll connect it to Samlila Prabhu and Mataji left. And Mataji's question about
Everybody took prasad na before going.
excite.
prasad नहीं गए? अब जा रहे हो क्या?
I think
एग्जिट पे खड़े हो इसलिए आपको लगा जा रहे हैं. बहुत बढ़िया प्रसाद बनाया उन्होंने, प्लीज. Nobody went now without prasad. Satyabhara Prabhu and his wife have left. They took prasad and left.
and no one will leave without prasadam at least. So about this excitement and the same thing connected. See, what excitement actually means is doing any activity according to your propensity or a guna. And to the extent that your physical mental capacities permit you, that is so different. The gunas and the background of a person is so different. Rather than looking at what others are doing and how it doesn't suit my guna but still forcing myself to do it, Varnashram gives that fantastic opportunity. What happens nowadays is this artificial diversity doesn't let all the gunas to flourish. It doesn't give an outlet to all the propensities, all the gunas to flourish. So we may feel that we wish to do a lot of different things. A Brahmana may want to have a certain kind of a disposition, want to do, but the modern way of creating diversity doesn't allow that. It kind of forces. Again, the reason is if you force someone, if you create an environment which you can control and manage, then if you can create an environment where you can give options, you give diversity according to, my choice. I am giving diversity according to my choice. For example, this Ford used to tell, you can have any color of their Ford Model T, the famous car, the first car on mass produced. You can have any color as long as it is black. So he used to say that you can have any color as long as it is black, because that time, that's how he promoted his car. So this is very different. And that natural setting of Varnashram, naturally if you are operating in that environment, you will get diversity, and then this excitement will be a natural consequence of our gunas being employed meaningfully in whatever we are supposed to do.
Otherwise today, like for example now IPL, that is the diversity people are experiencing. Are you getting it? But that's too artificial. That's diversity only. They want why they're doing that? They want excitement. They're getting bored. नहीं तो IPL में है क्या? पागल पहली है, right? The same. Some jokers, level places all over the world come together, call themselves Pura Bangalore, where nobody has even come there. So basically, it is to create an excitement. See, everybody wants excitement, break from routine, right?
I don't support IPL for that matter. What I'm trying to say is here is,
I'm just giving how modern
I'm saying something else. So for example, when you talk about India as a land of festivals, there are festivals every day happening in some part of India. Some of them are Shastri, some of them are Lokik, right?
Lokik.
Correct. People have made some custom something, right? And it may not be against the Vedic version, but the point here is that what I'm trying to say is that is excitement every human wants, and we create something as a community. Some of them may be coming from the rishis, some of them may be done by the people. So I don't really see why do you criticize that. So for that matter, for example, IPL. Okay, we may not like IPL, but people who are doing that, it is just another festival for them. Like like we have got so many festivals in.
But we have to see that anything that is done in the name of diversity or anything, they should have some dharma in it. See, that's why in the Vedic system, entertainment, poetry, siddhanta, dharma, everything has to be a part of everything. Like for example, if you read Valmiki Muni's description, honestly, I mean, if you read the original Valmiki Ramayana, right, it is not only beautiful in the poetry, it is not only beautiful in description, it is beautiful in siddhanta, it is beautiful in dharma. See, the point is, ultimately we cannot forget dharma. By dharma, I am not only meaning the supreme dharma of surrender to Krishna. I am also meaning in terms of a broader Sanatana dharma where whatever you are doing, does it have any real meaning or contribution to the world, even to make it a little better place to be in. Are you getting my point? But the man-made diversity, whether it is via the internet, ways of technology, entertainment by various movies, this, that, or this kind of IPL kind of stuff, there is only passionate excitement without any dharma at all. You understood the point? That means the world is not becoming even by one iota a better place to stay in. Not spiritually, even materially. Even materially. Are you understanding? It is not like you are teaching someone something, you are taking care of some cows, you are even taking care of tigers, you are taking care of forests, you are doing something to make the world a better place. That is dharma. Dharma means that which sustains. Everything has to be sustained in this world. And for that there is the kind of modern diversity man-made, commercial oriented, doesn't see dharma. There the only thing is artha. It is only based on the principle of grabbing, sucking money and making business. Usme jo hai na Prabhuji, that first of all comes in the lower modes. It is, the dvandva is higher over there. Dvandva is higher means, you understand what I'm saying? Like in a cricket, I mean, we all have experience. Watching cricket was always a tension actually. Pasina chutta tha India-Pakistan hai to. I remember I have cried, you know, when that Javed Medad hit a six. I don't know how many hours I cried after that. What dvandva you experience? What kind of misery? For what? Absolutely meaningless stuff. I mean, how many of you were there? I don't know when those matches. Because from 1986 to, I remember till 1992, when I was an avid follower of that, India lost almost all their matches with Pakistan. That 6-7 year period. Pakistan team was very strong. India lost every match. We would only cry. For what are you experiencing this dvandva? Absolutely meaningless dvandva. See, please remember, when you come down from dharma, the dvandva experienced is higher. And that higher dvandva experienced means you oscillate more between, the amplitude is high between the excitement and the misery. And that is extremely frustrating. That doesn't lead to any good neither in this world nor in the next. That is the point. You get the point, right? Yeah. Okay, we'll stop with that. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari 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 Bol. Yeah, it's okay. We take over.